Maintaining bonds across borders, Diane's story of friendship and career with her childhood friends in Kenya. Meet Diane, a woman whose career demands every ounce of her time, yet she holds something even more precious close to her heart. Friendship is her sanctuary, a bond shared with Alice, Faith, and Ntabi, her schoolmates who have grown into her family. Though miles apart, with Ntabi across the seas in the United Kingdom, their connection defies distance, thriving through the digital world. Weekly gatherings keep the bond strong between Diane, Alice, and Faith, sharing laughs and creating memories in their favorite spots. Ntabi, despite the physical distance, is never too far away. Emails, WhatsApp, Zoom and Facebook sessions are their windows to each other's worlds. Through the ups and downs of life, their friendship remains unwavering, a testament to their enduring bond and mutual support. This is a story of friendship that knows no bounds, proving that true connections can withstand the test of time and distance. Late again in Java, coffee, delicacies, and missed connections. Java, a city oasis renowned for its exquisite coffee and tempting treats, forms the picturesque backdrop for Diane's story of a late arrival. This bustling city holds a serenity that Diane discovers upon her untimely entrance. However, this tranquility is one she finds alone, without her friend Alice by her side. Amidst the lively streets and the rhythmic heartbeat of the city, Diane stumbles upon the serene charm of Java. Its reputation for fine coffee and homemade delicacies had always intrigued her. Yet, as she navigates through this peaceful enclave, she realizes that Alice, her companion, is nowhere to be found. As the evening unfolded, Diane's concern for Alice grew with each passing minute. Just as she contemplated her next move, an unexpected guest arrived: Tony, Diane's former flame. Tony, distinguished and debonair, radiated charm as he approached Diane's table, reigniting memories of their past romance. Engaging in polite conversation, Diane and Tony reminisced about their shared history, with Tony revealing that Alice had orchestrated their reunion. Despite initial reservations, Diane welcomed Tony's company, relishing the opportunity to reconnect with her past. Their conversation flowed effortlessly as they dined on sumptuous dishes, reminiscing about their youthful indiscretions and shared experiences. Diane couldn't help but feel a sense of nostalgia in Tony's presence, recalling the whirlwind romance they had shared in their youth. Their chance encounter at a high school party in Karen flashed through Diane's mind, igniting memories of their initial meeting and the undeniable spark between them. As they exchanged stories and laughter, Diane couldn't shake the feeling that fate had brought them together once again, offering a chance to revisit their past and explore what the future might hold. As the night progressed, they delved into discussions about their past lives. Tony, now back in Nairobi working for the United Nations, shared that he had never married but had 2 children. Diane, on the other hand, had 2 children with Stephen, her partner of 9 years, though they had never married. Despite the passage of time, Diane felt a lingering spark between them, transporting her back to her youth. Tony reminisced about the party where they first met, evoking memories of their shared history. Diane recalled Tony's nervousness when he had asked her to dance, a detail that had stayed with her all these years. Their conversation flowed seamlessly, with the waitstaff eventually informing them that the restaurant was closing. Although tempted to continue their conversation elsewhere, Diane decided to call it a night, suggesting they reconvene another day. They agreed to meet again on Sunday afternoon, and Tony gallantly escorted her to her car, offering to follow her home to ensure her safety amidst reports of crime in the area. Later that evening, Tony called Diane to check on her well-being, a gesture that touched her deeply, as no one, not even her ex, had ever shown such concern. In a previous chapter of her life, Diane parted ways with Stephen and now an ex, unable to tolerate his infidelity any longer. Stephen's promiscuous behavior had led to Diane contracting sexually transmitted infections multiple times, causing her immense distress and fear for her children's well-being with the dreaded fear of contacting HIV. Diane's breaking point came during a barbecue with friends when she discovered Stephen's affair with Grace, a friend's wife, in their garage. Diane had been occupied with hosting duties, while some of the guests enjoyed dancing outside under the temporary marquee. Amidst her tasks, Diane was clearing away glasses when her eldest son, Jack Buter, fell off his bicycle, sustaining painful bruises to his knee and elbow. Concerned for his well-being, Diane instructed her daughter Sheila to fetch their father, who was adept at providing first aid. However, Sheila returned unable to locate him. In his absence, Alice, who had some nursing experience prior to attending university, stepped in to administer first aid. Upon completing the first aid, Diane grew suspicious and went in search of her husband. To her dismay, she discovered him in the garage with their friend's wife, Grace. Shocked by the scene before her, with Grace seated on the car bonnet and Stephen engaging in intimate activity, Diane's anger surged. Acting on impulse, she seized Grace's knickers and Stephen's trousers from the floor before storming out, locking the door behind her and rendering the garage inaccessible from the outside. Consumed by rage, Diane's demeanor was akin to a charging racehorse at the Nganga racecourse, prompting Alice to rush to her side. Diane was visibly shaken and struggled to articulate her emotions, but Alice deduced that Stephen's infidelity was the cause of her distress, having been aware of his deceitful behavior. Witnessing the betrayal firsthand, Diane confronted Stephen, locking him out of the house and leaving him to face the consequences of his actions. The traumatic incident left Diane shaken, prompting her friend Alice to intervene and send everyone home as Diane struggled to come to terms with Stephen's betrayal. Diane urgently requested Alice to prevent Nganga from leaving, explaining that his wife was unexpectedly in the garage with Stephen. Acting discreetly, Alice informed the guests that the gathering had ended without disclosing the reason and advised Nganga to meet Diane in the kitchen. She then took both her and Diane's children home for safety. Upon Nganga's arrival in the kitchen, he found Diane visibly distressed. Concerned, he inquired about her well-being, but Diane struggled to articulate the situation. Ensuring the guests had departed, she silently led Nganga to the garage. There, they discovered Stephen and Grace in a compromising position. Reacting swiftly, Nganga confronted Stephen with a forceful punch. Despite Diane's hesitation to engage similarly with Grace, she and Grace eventually managed to separate Nganga from Stephen. Nganga then escorted his wife home, their proximity allowing for a quick return. Following the altercation, Diane instructed Stephen to collect his belongings from the security personnel later. The incident drew attention from onlookers and was likely to spark media interest, given Nganga's prominence in Nairobi's business circles. The next day, the incident was widely covered across social media and newspapers, spotlighting the couple's plight. Despite Stephen's attempts to reconcile, citing change and promises of marriage, the pattern of false assurances was all too familiar to Diane. She reflected on friends who had suffered grave consequences from similar situations, reaffirming her resolve. One evening, Diane returned home to find Stephen waiting with flowers, a gesture she dismissed, reflecting her decision to move past the ordeal. Diane confronted Stephen's unexpected arrival with a firm tone. "What do you want?" she demanded. Stephen, seeking reconciliation, asked for a chance to talk. Diane, however, cut him off sharply, reminding him of his betrayals and the pain he caused. "There's nothing left to discuss," she declared, indicating any further conversations would be handled legally. Dismissing his pleas, Diane firmly instructed him to leave, eventually calling security to escort him out as she retreated into her home. Meanwhile, Tony's life in Boston with Stella, the mother of his children, was marred by turmoil. Initially dismissing Stella's aggressive behavior as hormonal, Tony soon realized the violence wouldn't cease post-pregnancy. Stella's troubled past and unresolved traumas led to abusive tendencies towards Tony, who adhered to principles of never retaliating against a woman. The cycle of violence briefly paused but resumed, each episode escalating in severity. A particularly violent altercation led Tony to seek medical attention, lying about the cause of his injuries to cover up the domestic abuse. Stella's apologies temporarily quelled Tony's resolve to leave, hoping for a return to better days. However, Stella's announcement of another pregnancy amidst growing violence and accusations of infidelity made Tony reconsider his situation. His commitment to respect and protect, shaped by witnessing his mother's suffering in his childhood, clashed with the reality of his tumultuous marriage. Tony's decision to leave was solidified by their daughter's innocent inquiry about the domestic unrest, a moment that deeply affected him. Despite Stella's suggestion for a social gathering, Tony recognized the need for change, prioritizing his and his children's well-being over maintaining appearances. An explosive argument ensued when Tony expressed his intention to move out, leading to a dangerous escalation from Stella. Tony's retreat and Stella's self-harm underscored the urgent need for separation, marking a painful but necessary step towards safeguarding his family's future. Thank you for listening and stay tuned for the next part of Hope and Passion.